Throughout history, the world has been haunted by chilling tales of creatures that exist beyond the boundaries of the living. Among these legends, none are more terrifying or enduring than the stories of vampires, immortal beings that feed on the blood of the living, forever cursed to walk the night. These creatures are not mere figments of fiction, but have their roots in real-world history, folklore, and the darkest corners of human nature. From the blood-soaked halls of Transylvania to the eerie aristocracy of 16th century Hungary, the terrifying origins of these vampires reveal a twisted mix of betrayal, vengeance, and insatiable desires. Their stories transcend time, growing more sinister with each retelling, until they became immortalized in myth and popular culture. This is a tale of 5 of the most horrifying vampires in history: Count Dracula, Elizabeth Bathory, the Vampire of Paris, Akon of Serbia, and Barnabas Collins. Each of them began as mortal beings, only to be transformed into creatures of the night by dark forces, tragic circumstances, or their own twisted choices. Their origins are as chilling as their legends, and their thirst for blood has forever etched their names in the annals of fear. Welcome to a world where the dead walk among us, where the stories of the most terrifying vampires in history come to life. Count Dracula, often associated with the infamous Vlad the Impaler, is arguably the most iconic vampire in history. The legend of Dracula began with Vlad III, a ruler of Wallachia in the 15th century. Born in 1431, Vlad was a member of the Order of the Dragon, a group sworn to defend Christianity. His father, Vlad II, was a brutal leader, and young Vlad grew up in a harsh environment where cruelty was both taught and expected. His violent reign, marked by ruthless methods of punishing his enemies, most notably impalement, earned him the nickname Vlad the Impaler. Vlad's cruelty is legendary, with some historical accounts claiming that he impaled up to 20,000 people, including criminals, political rivals, and even those who dared to challenge him. The horror of his reign spread across Europe, and his brutality became a symbol of unbridled tyranny. However, it was not just his violent acts that contributed to the myth of Count Dracula. In folklore, Vlad is said to have made a pact with dark forces during a particularly bloody campaign. After engaging in a series of war campaigns, Vlad is believed to have sought a way to secure his power and live forever. Some say that during this period, he struck a deal with a dark entity, or the devil, who granted him the ability to return from death, cursed to drink the blood of the living to maintain his immortality. This dark pact is what transformed him from a mere tyrant into the vampire Count Dracula. The transformation of Vlad the Impaler into Dracula became further mythologized through Bram Stoker's 1897 novel Dracula. Stoker's depiction of Dracula cemented the character as the archetype of a vampire, a powerful, aristocratic figure with a thirst for blood, capable of mesmerizing his victims. Dracula's curse binds him to his castle, where he becomes a living legend, an immortal predator, feared by all who dare cross his path. Elizabeth Bathory, the infamous Blood Countess of Hungary, is one of the most terrifying and fascinating figures in vampire lore. Born in 1560 into a powerful Hungarian noble family, Elizabeth's early life seemed to promise a bright future. However, her descent into darkness began after her marriage to Ferenc Nadasdy, a wealthy and influential soldier, in 1575. The couple's union was initially based on mutual respect, but as Ferenc spent years away on military campaigns, Elizabeth became more isolated and increasingly obsessed with maintaining her youthful appearance. Over time, Elizabeth began to believe that the secret to preserving her beauty lay in the blood of young virgins. It is said that she began abducting young girls from peasant families, often enticing them with promises of work or protection. She would then imprison them in her castle, where she would subject them to horrific tortures. These included whipping, burning, and even biting them to drain their blood. In her mind, the blood of these young women could reverse the effects of aging and maintain her stunning appearance. The number of her victims varies widely in historical accounts, with some estimates ranging from 50 to 600. Bathory's cruel acts were kept secret for many years, but in 1610, rumors of her activities reached the King of Hungary, Matthias II. When an investigation was finally launched, the details of her gruesome crimes were revealed. Elizabeth was arrested and confined to her castle, where she lived out the remainder of her days under house arrest, though she was never formally tried or convicted. Her infamy as a vampire figure began with the rumors that she had become something more than human. Legends tell that Elizabeth had made a pact with dark forces, or that she was cursed to live forever, eternally feeding on the blood of young women to preserve her beauty. Though no historical evidence supports the notion that Bathory was literally a vampire, the combination of her bloodthirsty rituals, her wealth, and her power within Hungarian society cemented her place as a legendary figure in vampire lore. The Vampire of Paris, a shadowy and enigmatic figure from 19th century France, remains one of the most mysterious vampires in history. Little is known about the true identity of this vampire, but the tales surrounding him have grown into a haunting legend. The Vampire of Paris was said to be a charismatic nobleman who mingled with the high society of Paris, using his charm and wealth to gain the trust of influential people. What set this figure apart from other vampires is his connection to the occult. Rumors suggested that the vampire was not just a bloodthirsty predator, but also a practitioner of necromancy and dark magic. It is said that in his pursuit of immortality, the Vampire of Paris dabbled in forbidden rituals, seeking to harness the power of death itself. His transformation into a vampire is believed to have been the result of a botched occult ritual. In his attempt to commune with the dead and achieve eternal life, the vampire inadvertently summoned a curse upon himself, binding him to the life of a blood drinker for all eternity. As the years went on, the vampire's ability to blend into the high society of Paris allowed him to carry on his sinister activities unnoticed. He preyed on the vulnerable and weak, particularly the poor and homeless, using his social status and wealth to cover up his killings. Some say that he even used his powers to manipulate and control his victims, leaving them in a trance-like state before draining their blood. Over time, his legend grew, and whispers of his supernatural powers spread throughout the city. By the end of the century, the Vampire of Paris had become a figure of terror, his very name synonymous with fear and the occult. Akon's origin story is deeply entwined with Serbian folklore, where he is seen as the embodiment of vengeance and supernatural retribution. Akon was once a humble man living in a small village in Serbia during the 18th century. He was known for his kindness, hard work, and dedication to his family and community. However, his life was tragically cut short when he was falsely accused of a crime he did not commit. Some say it was a political rival who orchestrated his downfall. After Akon's wrongful execution, his spirit became restless, consumed by a need for revenge. Serbian folklore tells that the wronged man did not simply pass on to the afterlife, but instead returned from the grave in the form of a vampire. Fueled by rage, Akon rose from the earth as a vengeful spirit, cursed to walk the night and drink the blood of those who had wronged him and his family. Akon's vampirism was not merely the result of a dark pact, but rather a manifestation of his furious desire for justice. With each victim he claimed, Akon grew stronger, and his need for vengeance became unquenchable. He terrorized his village, visiting death and suffering on those who had betrayed him. His curse became a warning to others, that unjust deaths could give rise to dark forces that would never rest until they had achieved satisfaction. Akon's legend lives on in the form of vampire lore in the region, where he is remembered as a creature of vengeance, a reminder that certain wrongs could only be repaid by supernatural means. Barnabas Collins was a vampire unlike any other, a figure from American folklore whose tale is steeped in themes of obsession, love, and immortality. The Collins family was wealthy, influential, and part of New England's elite in the 19th century. Barnabas was their heir, a charming and handsome young man with a bright future ahead of him. However, his life took a dark turn when he fell deeply in love with Josette, a beautiful and kind-hearted woman. Desperate to be with her forever, Barnabas made a fateful decision. After Josette's untimely death, Barnabas's grief and desperation drove him to seek the help of a mysterious witch who lived on the outskirts of town. Hoping to revive Josette, Barnabas struck a deal with the witch, who promised to bring her back to life in exchange for something precious. However, the witch betrayed Barnabas, transforming him instead into a vampire. The curse was set, and Barnabas was condemned to an immortal existence, forever haunted by his lost love. As a vampire, Barnabas was both tragic and terrifying. His charm, once used to win Josette's heart, now made him a manipulative predator, using his influence to prey upon the wealthy of New England. Yet, despite his bloodthirsty nature, Barnabas was still tormented by his past and his unrequited love for Josette. His obsession with immortality and his desire to undo the witch's curse became his driving force. Barnabas Collins' story was brought to life in the 1960s television series Dark Shadows, where his complex character became an iconic symbol of vampirism, representing the duality of charm and danger. Barnabas' struggle to control his darker nature and his search for redemption have solidified him as a haunting figure in vampire lore.